Two Black Bottles is a short story in which the main character arrives in a village inhabited by a man who practices black magic. Upon meeting the sorcerer, the protagonist inadvertently releases his soul, which was contained in a magical bottle. This act kills the sorcerer instantly. Here is a detailed summary. The story begins when the priest of a small village, Mr. van der Hof, hires a man named Abel Foster as a sacristan to take care of the church, cemetery, and the priest's belonging. The sacristan is physically repulsive and hated by the villagers. Soon after his arrival, the priest begins to preach strange things, specifically about entities from other planets. Because of this, the villagers begin to abandon the church until eventually the priest is preaching to a nearly empty room. They repeatedly ask him to stop speaking of these terrifying extraterrestrial beings. Though timid and indecisive, the priest refuses, as if under the control of some terrifying and unshakable force. Was the sacristan the source of that influence? Let's return to the story. We learn that the priest's strange sermons weren't the only oddity brought by the new sacristan. Another misfortune was the closure of the local mine, where most villagers worked, leading to widespread poverty. Time passes, and one day the sacristan appears at the village market and announces that the priest died during the night. The sacristan seems overjoyed. The villagers are more frightened than ever. They fear the sacristan, now free to unleash his darkest spells, will make their suffering worse. He doesn't even hide his hatred for them, increasing their dread of what's to come. One villager remembers that the priest had a distant relative in another town. He sends a letter to him. This distant relative, who turns out to be the story's protagonist, arrives and learns everything. He visits the church where the sacristan lives. It lies beyond a stinking swamp, far from the village. The protagonist crosses the swamp, finds the church, enters it, and smells whiskey and hears noises from above. He climbs the stairs and finds a frightened, cruel-faced man, the sacristan. After a tense exchange, the protagonist learns his story. The sacristan explains that the first priest of the church in the early 18th century practiced magic. When the sacristan arrives some years ago, he found the priest's notes and learned how to use magic for his own purposes. He cursed the village and imprisoned the priest's soul in a bottle. But now he is terrified. He has forgotten the spell that gave him power. Though the priest is physically dead, he rises nightly from his grave to haunt the church. At that moment, the protagonist looks out the window and sees a cross on a grave beginning to fall. Though earlier it was a bride, he understands the dead priest is rising and may soon kill both him and the sacristan. He demands to know where the soul is hidden. The sacristan mocks and refuses. The protagonist notices black bottles on a shelf. He grabs one and smashes it. The sacristan's skin changes color. He collapses and begins to resemble a corpse. Before dying, he reveals that his own soul had also been imprisoned, and the protagonist has unknowingly freed it. The protagonist flees the church and returns to the village, where the next day he recounts the story. The villagers are skeptical but superstitious enough not to enter the church to verify the tale. At the end, we learn that the priest's soul still wanders between the church, the village, and the graveyard. He is unable to truly die, trapped between hell and the world of the living.